Somewhere in the vastness of space, Earth was about to experience something it had only dreamed of for centuries. A signal came through, faint at first but growing stronger with each passing second. It wasn't random noise or some glitch in the system. It was a message from beyond the stars. Humanity held its breath. Was this finally it? First contact? The signal wasn't just any ordinary transmission. It carried intelligence, structure, and purpose. Scientists around the world worked tirelessly to decode it. Days turned into sleepless nights as they pieced together fragments of what seemed like an invitation, a call for peaceful dialogue. For once, humanity wasn't reaching out blindly into the cosmos. Someone or something was reaching back. News spread fast. Social media lit up with theories, excitement, and even fear. Governments scrambled to form a united front. After all, if aliens were contacting Earth, they weren't likely aiming for one country. They wanted to talk to all of humanity. And so the United Earth Council, UEC, stepped forward. This council wasn't perfect, but it represented the best chance Earth had to speak with one voice. Preparations began almost immediately. Engineers and architects worked around the clock to ready Orion 7, humanity's most advanced orbital station. Floating high above the planet, it would serve as the meeting ground for this historic encounter. Cameras were installed, security tightened, and communication systems tested repeatedly. Every detail mattered because failure wasn't an option. But while the world focused on diplomacy, there was another side to the story, one that remained hidden from public view. Deep beneath layers of secrecy, inside underground facilities buried under mountains and deserts, engineers labored on a project so massive it defied imagination. They called it Leviathan. Leviathan wasn't just a ship. It was a statement. Built over decades using technology reverse-engineered from crashed objects found in remote parts of the globe, it was designed to be more than a weapon. It was a deterrent. If anyone ever thought humanity was weak or easy to conquer, Leviathan would prove them wrong. Its sleek metallic frames stretched longer than several football fields combined, bristling with cutting-edge weaponry and shielded by armor capable of withstanding anything short of a supernova. Yet, despite its power, Leviathan hadn't been unveiled to the public. Not yet. It floated silently behind Earth's moon, cloaked and waiting. Only a handful of people knew it existed, let alone understood its true purpose. To the rest of the world, it was nothing more than a rumor whispered in hushed tones among conspiracy theorists. As the day of the alien arrival approached, anticipation reached fever pitch. People gathered in parks, streets, and living rooms, glued to their screens. Some prayed, and others celebrated, and a few prepared for the worst. No one knew what to expect. Would the visitors look like humans? Would they communicate in ways we could understand? Or would they bring destruction instead of peace? Then it happened. On a clear night, streaks of light appeared in the sky. At first glance, they looked like shooting stars, but these lights moved with precision, forming patterns that couldn't be natural. The alien fleet had arrived. Their ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Sleek and crystalline, they shimmered with colors that shifted and danced as though alive. They didn't roar like rockets or thunder like jets. They glided silently, exuding grace and power. Watching them approach, many felt awe mixed with unease. These weren't primitive beings stumbling upon Earth by accident. Whoever they were advanced, very advanced. Back on Orion 7, diplomats waited nervously. Screens flickered to life as the alien ships docked with the station. Moments later, the doors opened and they stepped through. Tall, ethereal figures with translucent skin and glowing eyes greeted the humans. Their movements were fluid, almost hypnotic, and their voices resonated like soft chimes when they spoke. "Greetings," one of them said, their words translated instantly by advanced algorithms. "We are envoys of the Valith Collective. We come in peace." For a moment, everyone froze. Then applause erupted, not just on the station, but across the entire planet. Cheers filled homes and streets as humanity realized it wasn't alone in the universe. But little did anyone know. Little did anyone know. The answers would soon reveal themselves in ways no one could have predicted. The moment the alien envoys stepped onto Orion 7, humanity collectively held its breath. With their eyes large and luminous, scanned. Their eyes large and luminous, scanned the room as if taking in everything at once. Despite their beauty, there was something unsettling about them, a quiet intensity that made even the most seasoned diplomats uneasy. "Greetings," one of the envoys said again, was their voice resonating like soft chime, but now translated clearly through advanced algorithms. "We are representatives of the Valith Collective. Our purpose here is peace." Peace. That single word echoed in the minds of everyone present. It was what humanity had hoped for, prayed for. Yet beneath the surface, doubts lingered. Why had they come now? What did they truly want? And why did their ships look so formidable? The meeting began cautiously. The UEC delegates introduced themselves, explaining Earth's history, culture, and aspirations. They spoke of humanity's struggles, wars, environmental crises, and the slow but steady climb toward unity. The aliens listened intently, their expressions unreadable. When it was their turn to speak, they shared fragments of their own story. The Valith Collective, they explained, was not just one species but many united under a shared goal, preserving harmony across the stars. So they spoke of ancient wars fought against rogue civilizations who refused to join their coalition, of planets destroyed by greed and arrogance. There was a warning hidden within their words, a reminder that unchecked aggression could lead to ruin. At first, the message seemed hopeful. Humanity wasn't being judged solely on its past mistakes. Instead, it was being offered a chance to rise above them. But as the conversation continued, cracks began to form. The Valith's tone shifted subtly, Emery hinting at concerns about Earth's rapid technological advancement. They asked probing questions about Earth's military capabilities, its nuclear arsenals, and its recent strides in space exploration. To the humans, it felt less like curiosity and more like scrutiny. Were they here to help or to assess whether Earth posed a threat? Some delegates argued that the Valith were simply cautious, given their history. Others weren't so sure. Tensions simmered beneath the polite exchanges, growing stronger with each passing hour. Meanwhile, far from the diplomatic chambers, Earth scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the alien fleet. Sensors swept over the crystalline ships, detecting energy signatures unlike anything seen before. At first glance, the vessels appeared peaceful, designed for travel rather than combat. But deeper scans revealed something troubling: hidden compartments, shield generators, and weapon systems far more advanced than anything humanity possessed. And word of this discovery reached the UEC leadership, sparking heated debates behind closed doors. Should they confront the Valith about their armaments, or keep the findings secret to avoid escalating tensions? The decision was made to stay silent, for now. But trust, already fragile, began to erode. On the third day of negotiations, an unexpected event changed everything. While monitoring the alien fleet, Earth's defense network detected faint signals emanating from their ships. These weren't ordinary communications. They were encrypted bursts directed toward deep space. Where were they sending these messages? And why? Before anyone could act, the Valith noticed something too. Their sensors had picked up traces of Leviathan's presence. Though cloaked and hidden behind Earth's moon, the massive warship hadn't gone entirely undetected. Shock rippled through the alien delegation. They hadn't anticipated such firepower from a species they considered relatively primitive. Back on Earth, military commanders gathered in secure bunkers, debating their next move. Should they reveal Leviathan openly, using it as a show of strength, or keep it concealed, hoping the Valith wouldn't connect the dots? Opinions were divided. Some argued that transparency might ease tensions, while others believed revealing Leviathan could provoke hostility. As the days passed, both sides grew increasingly wary. The Valith began asking pointed questions about Earth's orbital defenses, with their tones sharper than before. Meanwhile, human delegates struggled to maintain composure, knowing full well that their planet's greatest secret hovered silently in the void. Despite the growing unease, efforts to salvage the talks continued. Cultural exchanges were proposed, an attempt to bridge the gap between two vastly different civilizations. Music, art, and stories flowed between the humans and the Valith, offering glimpses into each other's worlds. For a brief moment, and hope flickered back to life. Perhaps understanding could still prevail over suspicion, but the shadow of mistrust loomed large. Every smile, every gesture, every word exchanged carried layers of meaning, some genuine, others calculated. Both sides knew the stakes were high. If diplomacy failed, the consequences would be catastrophic, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. And yet, amid all the tension, one truth became undeniable. Humanity had entered a new era. When no longer confined to its own planet, it stood on the brink of something monumental. Whether that something would bring unity or conflict remained to be seen. By the fifth day of negotiations, the atmosphere aboard Orion 7 had shifted dramatically. What had started as a hopeful exchange between two civilizations was now clouded by suspicion and unease. The initial excitement of first contact had faded, replaced by a growing sense that neither side fully trusted the other. The Valith envoys continued to share fragments of their history, painting a picture of a galaxy filled with both wonder and danger. They spoke of ancient wars fought against rogue species who refused to join the Valith collective, of planets reduced to ash by unchecked aggression. Their message seemed clear. Unity was essential for survival, but to the humans listening, it felt like more than just advice. It sounded like a warning. When some delegates interpreted the stories as thinly veiled intimidation, why were the Vailith so focused on Earth's military capabilities? Why did they keep asking about humanity's readiness to defend itself? Others argue that the Vailith were simply cautious given their experiences with hostile civilizations. After all, they couldn't have known what kind of species they were dealing with when they sent their signal. But then came the discovery that changed everything. While analyzing data from the alien fleet, Earth scientists detected faint signals being transmitted toward deep space. These weren't ordinary communications. They were encrypted bursts, impossible to decipher without advanced algorithms. Where were those messages going, and why? The implications were chilling. Were the Vailith reporting back to their homeworld, or worse, calling for reinforcements? No one could say for sure. All anyone knew was that trust, already fragile, was crumbling fast. At first, they dismissed it as a natural phenomenon, but as the days passed, the whispers grew louder, and the crew began to suspect something more sinister. At first, they dismissed it as a natural phenomenon, or perhaps a malfunction in their sensors. But as more data poured in, the truth became undeniable. Earth had built a warship unlike anything they had encountered before. Shock rippled through the delegation. How could a species they considered relatively primitive possess such technology? The crystalline ships of the Vailith were marvels of engineering, yet even they paled in comparison to the sheer scale and power of what they now suspected was hiding in Earth's shadow. Back on Earth, leaders convened in secure bunkers to discuss the situation. Military commanders argued that revealing Leviathan openly might serve as a deterrent, showing the Vailith that humanity wasn't to be underestimated. Diplomats countered that doing so could escalate tensions further, turning a fragile peace into outright hostility. The debate raged on, with no clear resolution in sight. In the end, the decision was made to keep Leviathan hidden, for now, but the secrecy weighed heavily on everyone involved. Every interaction with the Vailith felt like walking a tightrope, one wrong step away from disaster. As the days passed, both sides grew increasingly guarded. Conversations that had once been open and curious turned stiff and formal. The Vailith began asking pointed questions about Earth's orbital defenses, their tone sharper than before. Meanwhile, human delegates struggled to maintain composure, knowing full well that their planet's greatest secret hovered silently in the void. Despite the tension, efforts to salvage the talks continued. Cultural exchanges were proposed, in an attempt to bridge the gap between two vastly different civilizations. Music, art, and stories flowed between the humans and the Vailith, offering glimpses into each other's worlds. For a brief moment, hope flickered back to life. Perhaps understanding could still prevail over suspicion. One evening during a break in the negotiations, a group of human delegates gathered in a quiet corner of Orion 7. They watched footage of the Vailith envoys interacting with Earth's cultural displays, listening to symphonies, examining paintings, and marveling at sculptures. There was a strange beauty in the way they absorbed it all, their translucent forms shimmering softly under the station's lights. "They're not monsters," one delegate said quietly, breaking the silence. "They're just scared, like us." The others nodded, though doubt lingered in their eyes. Fear was a powerful motivator, capable of driving even the most peaceful beings to acts of aggression. And fear was exactly what dominated the room whenever the Valith and humans sat down together. And on the seventh day, the cracks finally broke wide open. During a routine scan, Earth's defense network detected unusual energy fluctuations emanating from the Valith fleet. Closer analysis revealed that their ships were armed far beyond what they had disclosed. Hidden compartments unfolded, revealing weapon systems that glowed with an eerie light. Word of this discovery reached the UEC leadership immediately. Panic spread through the ranks, and decided to address the issue directly. In 2021, the Valith came in peace, or as conquerors biding their time. The question hung heavy in the air, unanswered but impossible to ignore. Confronted with the evidence, the human delegates decided to address the issue directly. In a tense meeting, they presented their findings to the Valith envoys, demanding answers. The aliens listened silently, their glowing eyes unreadable. When they finally responded, their words carried a weight that silenced the room. "We are explorers, not invaders," one envoy said, their voice resonating like soft chimes. "But we cannot afford to be unprepared. Just as you have your secrets, so do we. Trust must be earned, not given freely." The statement hit hard. It was true. Both sides had withheld information, each fearing the worst from the other. Yet despite their mutual distrust, neither wanted conflict. The stakes were too high. If diplomacy failed, the consequences would ripple across the stars, affecting countless lives. That night, and as the station drifted silently in orbit, both humans and Valith retreated to their respective quarters to regroup. Back on Earth, military commanders prepared contingency plans, while scientists worked tirelessly to analyze every scrap of data collected from the alien fleet. Amid the chaos, a single thought lingered in everyone's mind. How much longer could this fragile peace last? Tensions had reached a boiling point. And what had started as an attempt at peaceful dialogue was now teetering on the edge of collapse. Both sides were armed with secrets, suspicions, and weapons far beyond what either had anticipated. The fragile trust that had once existed between humanity and the Valith collective was now shattered, replaced by a cold, uneasy standoff. It all began with a minor incident, a skirmish between patrol drones from both factions. It wasn't planned, nor was it intentional. A human drone, programmed to monitor the perimeter of Orion 7, drifted too close to the Valith fleet. The aliens, already on edge, perceived it as a threat. In response, one of their crystalline ships fired a warning shot, a pulse of energy that disabled the drone instantly. The humans saw it differently. To them, it looked like an act of aggression. Within minutes, Earth's defense network went on high alert. Military commanders scrambled to assess the situation, while diplomats aboard Orion 7 tried desperately to calm nerves on both sides. But the damage was done. Trust, already hanging by a thread, snapped completely. The Valith envoys demanded answers. Why had Earth deployed drones so close to their ships? Were they planning an attack? Human delegates countered with accusations of their own. Why had the Valith fired first? What were they hiding? Both sides retreated to regroup, but the tension in the air was palpable. Back on Earth, the leaders debated their next move. Some argued for diplomacy, urging patience and restraint. Others pushed for action, convinced that showing strength was the only way to prevent further escalation. In the end, the decision was made. Humanity would reveal Leviathan. For years, the massive warship had remained hidden, cloaked behind Earth's moon. Now it emerged from the shadows, its sleek metallic frame glinting in the sunlight. Cameras aboard Orion 7 captured the moment, broadcasting it live to the world and to the Valith fleet. When the alien delegation saw Leviathan for the first time, shock rippled through their ranks. Even the most stoic among them couldn't hide their astonishment. The warship dwarfed their largest vessels, its sheer size and ominous design sending a clear message. Humanity was not to be underestimated, but instead of retreating or backing down, the Valith responded with chilling resolve. Through their translators, they issued an ultimatum. "Stand down your warship," one envoy said, their voice steady but laced with warning, "or face annihilation." The words sent shivers down the spines of everyone who heard them. For a moment it seemed like conflict was inevitable. The Valith fleet repositioned itself, forming a defensive perimeter around their flagship. Weapon systems hummed to life, glowing faintly beneath the crystalline hulls. On Earth, military commanders prepared for the worst. Fighters were scrambled, orbital defenses activated, and evacuation protocols put into place. Cities braced for impact, though deep down everyone knew that if the Valith attacked, there would be little time to react. Yet amidst the chaos, a small group of scientists and analysts refused to give up hope. They pored over data collected from the alien fleet, searching for anything that might explain the sudden shift in tone. And then, till they found it, a faint signal buried within the encrypted bursts transmitted earlier. Decoding the message took hours, but when they finally cracked it, the revelation was staggering. The Valith hadn't come to conquer Earth, or even to assess its potential threat. They were here to protect it. A greater danger loomed on the horizon, one that could devastate the galaxy unless all sentient species united against it. The Valith fleet wasn't just a diplomatic mission. It was a vanguard, sent to prepare Earth for what was coming. Armed with this knowledge, the UEC leadership made a bold decision. Instead of responding to the ultimatum with hostility, they chose transparency. A message was sent to the Valith fleet, explaining that Leviathan was not a weapon of war, but a symbol of humanity's determination to survive. They invited the aliens to witness its true purpose, not as a tool of destruction, but as a means of cooperation. At first, the Valith were skeptical. Centuries of caution made them wary of such gestures, but after hours of deliberation, they agreed to meet humanity halfway. A joint delegation boarded Leviathan, where they were shown its capabilities, not just as a warship, but as a platform for collaboration. Its vast hangars housed not only weapons, but also research labs, communication arrays, and medical facilities designed to aid allies in times of crisis. Slowly, the atmosphere began to shift. The Valith realized that humanity's fears mirrored their own. Both civilizations had been driven by mistrust, each assuming the worst about the other. Yet when faced with a common threat, they found something unexpected: unity. By the end of the day, the standoff had dissolved into cautious optimism. The Valith withdrew their ultimatum, agreeing to share more information about the impending danger. In return, humanity pledged to stand alongside them, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As Leviathan returned to its position near Earth's moon, the world watched with bated breath. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, humanity felt like part of something bigger. Together, they had taken their first steps onto the galactic stage, not as adversaries, but as allies. The revelation changed everything. What had started as a tense standoff between humanity and the Valith Collective transformed into something neither side had anticipated, an alliance born out of necessity. The greater threat looming on the horizon wasn't just a problem for one civilization. It was a challenge that would require every species in the galaxy to work together. For the first time, the Valith opened up about the true nature of their mission. They spoke of a force known only as the Devourer, a mysterious entity that consumed entire star systems, leaving behind nothing but barren wastelands. It moved without warning, its arrival heralded by strange gravitational anomalies and bursts of radiation detectable light years away. No one knew where it came from or why it existed, but its path of destruction was undeniable. The Valith had been tracking the Devourer for decades, trying to understand its patterns and predict its next target. Earth, they explained, it was dangerously close to its projected trajectory. That's why they had come, not to conquer or judge, but to prepare humanity for what was coming. At first, the news was met with disbelief. How could something so vast and powerful exist? Was this another ploy to manipulate Earth into submission? But as evidence mounted, data logs, sensor readings, and first-hand accounts from other civilizations, the truth became impossible to deny. Humanity wasn't ready for this kind of fight, but it didn't have a choice. Back on Earth, leaders scrambled to prepare. Military forces were mobilized, resources redirected, and emergency plans put into motion. Scientists worked around the clock to develop new technologies, while engineers retrofitted existing spacecraft to handle the demands of interstellar combat. Every available hand was needed, and for once, humanity set aside its differences to focus on survival. But the real turning point came when the Valith proposed a bold plan to use Leviathan as the centerpiece of their joint defense strategy. The massive warship, originally designed as a deterrent, would now serve as a mobile command center, a symbol of unity between two vastly different civilizations. Inside Leviathan, teams of humans and Valith worked side by side, sharing knowledge and expertise. The crystalline technology of the aliens merged seamlessly with Earth's engineering, creating hybrid systems far more advanced than anything either side could have achieved alone. Weapons were upgraded, shields reinforced, and communication arrays expanded to include dozens of alien languages. For many aboard the ship, the experience was surreal. Humans marveled at the elegance of Valith designs, while the aliens expressed fascination with humanity's ingenuity and adaptability. Despite their differences, they found common ground in their shared determination to protect the galaxy. As preparations continued, the Valith revealed another crucial piece of information. The Devourer wasn't just a mindless force of destruction. It was intelligent, capable of adapting to any threat thrown its way. Past attempts to stop it had ended in failure, with entire fleets wiped out in moments. If humanity and the Valith hoped to succeed, they would need more than brute force. They would need strategy, a creativity, and above all, trust. Trust didn't come easily. Decades of sci-fi movies and novels had conditioned humanity to fear alien invaders, and centuries of caution had taught the Valith to be wary of younger species. But as days turned into weeks, both sides began to see each other in a new light. The Valith weren't cold, calculating overlords. They were beings driven by the same fears and hopes as humans. And humanity wasn't reckless or primitive. It was resilient, resourceful, and determined to survive. One evening aboard Leviathan, a group of human engineers gathered in the mess hall with their Valith counterparts. The room buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the occasional burst of music played on portable devices. Someone had brought out a guitar, and though the Valith didn't fully understand the concept of music, they listened intently, their glowing eyes reflecting curiosity and wonder. "It's beautiful," one of the envoys said, their voice resonating softly. "Your ability to create, it's inspiring." The comment caught everyone off guard. For weeks, interactions between human and Valith had been strictly professional, focused solely on the mission at hand. But in that moment, something shifted. Barriers began to fall, replaced by genuine connection. As the days passed, these small moments of camaraderie grew more frequent. Shared meals, impromptu storytelling sessions, when even friendly competitions became part of life aboard Leviathan. Each interaction strengthened the bond between the two species, proving that cooperation was possible even in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, the day arrived. Sensors detected the first signs of the Devourer's approach. Gravitational distortions rippling through space, followed by bursts of radiation that lit up the void like fireworks. The fleet assembled quickly, with Leviathan at its heart. White ships from the Valith Collective joined forces with Earth's best vessels, forming a united front against the impending threat. When the Devourer appeared, it was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. A swirling mass of darkness and light, it pulsed with energy, devouring everything in its path. Stars flickered and died as it drew closer, their light extinguished in an instant. The battle that followed was chaotic and intense. Weapons fired relentlessly, but the Devourer absorbed every attack, and growing stronger with each strike. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the combined efforts of humanity and the Valith paid off. Using a combination of Earth's ingenuity and Valith technology, they unleashed a final, desperate gambit, a concentrated beam of energy designed to disrupt the Devourer's core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the entity began to unravel, its form dissolving into nothingness. Cheers erupted across the fleet as the threat vanished, leaving behind only silence. In the aftermath, humanity and the Valith stood together, united by their shared victory. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Rebuilding what had been lost would take time. But for the first time, Earth felt like part of something bigger. Together, humanity and the Valith prepared to face the unknown, united under the shadow of Leviathan.